Any complaints? Okay, everybody please rise if able for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Jenna, can we have roll call, please?
Trustee Rhodey?
Yep.
Trustee Belt? Here. Trustee Krasovich?
Here.
Trustee Kreiser?
Here.
Trustee Grabowski?
Here.
President Knutson?
Here. Public hearing presentation. Public hearing on ordinance 2025-02 to create section 40.3674A2 of the Municipal Code of the Village of Milwaukee regarding the conversion of an outlot to buildable single-family residential use status in a residential infill redevelopment overlay district. I hereby open up the public hearing. Is there anybody here that wanted to talk about that?
I'm just here to represent the company that's doing it based on the recommendations that we have already presented last year to the board planning commission.
Okay. Okay, then I will close the public hearing. Item 3 is approval of the minutes of the regular village board meeting dated March 4th, 2025. I hope everyone's had a chance to look them over. Are there any questions, comments regarding the way it is presented this evening? If there are none, do I have a motion to approve as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Second, Rhodey.
You have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is hereby, minutes are adopted. Okay, item 4, citizen comments. Sir, would you be looking to make a comment at this time? Let me read it if you're thinking about it, okay? This is an opportunity for citizens to share their opinions with board members on any topic they choose. However, due to Wisconsin open meeting laws, the board is not able to answer questions or respond to your comments. All comments should be directed to the board. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker, with time being indicated by an audible alarm. When the alarm sounds, speakers are asked to please conclude their comments. Speakers are asked to please use the podium and state their name and address for the record. Okay.
So Irv Christ with Cornerstone Development, 4343 Pleasant Hill Road, Richfield, Wisconsin. Just here to just mention that we really would like to place a home on that single family, or that small lot that became an outlot when we divided up the rest of the land. We have done some research on some homes. It wouldn't be the same home that we currently are building in the community. We have come up with some floor plans that would fit and meet the setback requirements that the village requires. Obviously, our only request was that the lot size doesn't meet the minimum, and we have asked that they still allow us to do that. I think it would be a good, nice little asset to that little piece of land right there. And the home that we're looking at, we have a couple of different ones we're looking at, really fits really well, I think, within the community. And so that's kind of what we're asking for. Let us develop that. I have done the homework on the utilities coming in. We do have water coming in, but we would have to bring sewer in from Quinlan, so we would have to do a road cut and bring that in, and we're aware of that. So we've got that financial cost factored in. So I guess that would be it. We really would like to develop that and put a nice little home tucked in there in conjunction with what we've already done. We did something similar on High Street, if everybody knows that location. We did place a house on that little section of land that, for some reason, that ended up being part of one of the lots on the development, and this one became an outlot, and I think it was just because of the square footage. So that's what we're asking for, and hopefully the board would agree with that.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we're going to move on to item 5, ordinances. Review, discussion, and possible action on ordinance 2025-01 regarding the operation and use of golf carts in public streets. Matt, do you want to start this one off?
Absolutely, President Knutson. So back on February 19th, the board considered an agenda item to direct staff to compose an ordinance that would allow the operation of golf carts on public streets. Attorney Grelinski went back and, using some samples provided by Trustee Grabowski, composed the version that's before you this evening.
Jim?
I kind of gave a brief or an overview of it previously. There weren't any major changes or restructuring from Attorney Grelinski, just simply clearing up some of the language in it to fit within our standard ordinances, as well as adding components that required liability insurance in order to receive registration, and then some clearer guidelines in terms of enforcement for violations. So when you go through this, I can say unequivocally it is the most thorough version of a golf cart ordinance that I have found in southeastern or southern Wisconsin in regards to the, just the completeness from detailed to operation to vehicle equipment and in terms of liability. So I feel very comfortable with it myself.
Yeah, the only comment I would add is the foundation from Trustee Grabowski on the initial draft was excellent. So really, what you have before you is not substantively different than what you've looked at previously. As Jim said, mostly just having to enforce this on the back end with citation, having to prosecute these violations, trying to make it easy for us to do that from a prosecutor and from a police department standpoint. So in terms of the highlights, the biggest one that I guess I would highlight would be that as part of the registration process, we're trying to keep it simple from a staff point of view. We don't want to be certifying roadworthiness or anything in these vehicles or taking up too much staff time. But at the same time, we do want, if people are going to be operating these vehicles, they should be providing proof of insurance, liability insurance, that do that. So that, and then there was a specific prohibition on the crossing of state trunk highways or connecting highways, which comes directly from the state statute authorizing use of golf carts. If we don't have that prohibition in there and we allow crossing on state trunk highways, we got to put up the money to put up signage for it. So got to be clear that we're not allowing that. But other than that, it really, like I said, the nuts and bolts aren't changing. Just the presentation and the layout for ease of prosecution are the main changes there.
Any comments or discussion? Yes, Bob?
Yeah, and again, I just want to emphasize the fact that these vehicles can only be parked in parking lots or parking spaces, correct?
Yeah, they're treated the same as all motor vehicles.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance, where we at 2025-01 regarding the operation and use of golf carts on public streets.
I will second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ordinance 2025-01 is hereby adopted.
Thanks, Jim.
Review, discussion, and possible action on ordinance 2025-02 to create section 40.3674A2 of the Municipal Code of Village Pewaukee regarding the conversion of an outlot to buildable single-family residential use status in the residential infill redevelopment overlay district. Matt, would you like to take this again? I believe this is coming from the Planning Commission.
Yes, please, President Knudsen. So to just a little bit of background, this is something that was in motion in the village right at the time that Administrator Gossi was retiring and I was coming on board. So we had a petition from the developer in 2024 to allow them to develop that outlot. And the appropriate way to do that would be to revise our zoning code to allow them to go through a conditional use grant process at the Plan Commission level. So that's what this does, is it creates that code. The Plan Commission reviewed it back over the summer in 2024 and recommended for approval for this body. And I believe it was also composed by Attorney Grelinski, so it's had legal review.
Any discussion or comments?
The only comment I would add is, the applicant is here talking about the specific project, and that's fine. But the specific project is not what's before the board. It's the code change to allow them to get approval for this conversion. So it is a zoning code change. It is drafted and was drafted with the former planner and myself with the intents to be as narrow as possible and give the village protection if these conversions are going to occur. I would also point out that this only applies to those areas which are zoned with the residential redevelopment overlay, which as of this moment is only the Glen, the St. Mary's property and the Riverside development.
And so the due process in this is us approving or rejecting the zoning change, and if approved, then it would go back to the Plan Commission to review the specific project.
Correct.
Bob, you?
Yeah, just had a quick question. Help me understand that portion of land that's right in front of this lot. And is that an easement or what is that?
So my understanding is that's actually part of the public right-of-way, like part of the street. And when the outlet was created, it was recommended by, I'm not sure if it was our planner or the engineer, that street is actually a little narrower than it should be, and that in the future we might have an opportunity to recapture a proper street width there, kind of one lot at a time, as those lots need adjustment. So the recommendation was, while this was being created, to capture that width, the appropriate width right away on that particular lot.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2025-02 to create section 40.3674A2 of the municipal code of the Village of Pewaukee regarding the conversion of an outlot to buildable single-family residential use status in the residential infill redevelopment overlay district.
Second, Grabowski.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ordinance 2025-02 is hereby adopted. Item 6, resolutions, we have none. Item 7, old business, we have none. Item 8, new business, review discussion, possible action to direct staff to compose an anti-cruising ordinance. Jim, I think you wanted this, brought this forward?
Yeah, I can, because I'm the one that brought it forward. This came out of one of the meetings that Trustee Rhodey and I had with a couple of the building owners or property owners in downtown B2 district. And they expressed concerns over summertime with safety and congestion and some of the nuisances created from repeated cruisings of certain vehicles. So I went back and did some research, and there are some. I also spoke to Chief Heyer about it. He agreed with it. He would love a tool in their toolbox to be able to enforce the harmony of the downtown. And so I went back and started doing some research, and there were some that were taken all the way up, I believe, to the Wisconsin Supreme Court regarding this. And what they all followed was the same template that was litigated and found to be of upstanding merit, I would say. So what basically, are we looking at just for staff to review this then, moving forward? So basically, what we'd be looking for is taking the board's temperature on if we want staff to not reinvent the wheel, pun intended, and follow that same template that several communities around us, specifically in like West Dallas and Milwaukee County, that have put these. Chief Heyer said it'd be a great benefit to them because not only could it give it a reason to enforce at the time, but he said it's actually possible to, with the technology that we have today, to actually go back and enforce through camera evidence or such. They don't have to catch them in the act type thing. And I think it would be a great benefit to the downtown, and the business owners asked for this.
Questions, comments?
I love it. I love the idea of discouraging problematic behaviors like cruising that we all have probably noticed as a safety issue, in addition to a nuisance behavior down at the beach.
Any other comments?
And I think like anything, I think the devil's going to be in the details, especially on the enforcement of this. So I'll be interested to see what is crafted on this.
Yeah, I mean, as Jim alluded to, these types of ordinances did generate a number of cases, especially in like the late 90s, early 2000s, from City of Milwaukee, West Dallas, Hales Corners, West Bend, those types of communities.
Highway 100.
Yeah, you can see the geographic area there. So they all follow the same formats. So as Jim said, that's kind of the gold standard if you're writing some of these. So there's really one template to work off of to provide the certainty that this is going to be upheld if it would ever be challenged.
I mean, it appeared, like when I was going through each community that had it, opposed to the golf cart one where you could see like similarities through them, these were pretty much copy and paste.
Yep.
You know, because that's what has been run through the court system and is held up. So everyone's like, well, just go with it. So,
And as much as it can be, I mean, like I said, these cases are 30 years old, 25 years old, so the law is somewhat settled if we stick to what's already been invented. So.
Is it specific to an area? Like, would the ordinance be specific to just the beach area?
I've seen it done both ways, where particular streets are picked out, but I've also seen it drafted just community-wide.
yeah, so that is the one variation. Some had like Highway 100, whereas others had you are not allowed to have the same moving vehicle pass the same point 3 times within an X amount of hours or something. Meaning like you could go one place and come back from there, but as soon as you cross it a 3rd time within an hour, then you were in violation. So those were like the community-based ones. But outside of that, it's pretty black and white of every one of all the communities.
Would staff prefer direction on that aspect of the ordinance, or do you guys feel comfortable coming back to us with a recommendation?
I think we can make the recommendation from staff level after looking at what other communities have done
Great.
on that point. So I don't need that specific of direction.
I just have 2 questions. One, are we going to post signs on the street that are anti-cruising on this street? And 2, although I agree with this, I like it. I was a cruiser when I was young.
I was going to say,
I need to
But
change
anyway,
skills.
I live on the west side, and I go through downtown. And then I'll come back through downtown. Then I'll maybe go into it again.
I was
So-
just thinking that.
Cruising, you say.
And then I might come back again.
Yeah, I
Unless
mean-
you're beeping at the girls on the beach.
I agree.
Yeah, how do
but
you,
the
what do
difference,
you, what do you
Jeff, the
consider
difference is
cruising?
you're not racing your engine, and
Right.
your stereo is not blaring.
Correct. It is also the defining element of the cruising is the intention behind it. It's not stopping conveyance. It's
Okay.
if you have a dedicated point you're going to and you're coming back from.
Right.
That's I live on the east side, so that's like, oh, I can't go to the coffee shop, then come back, and then go to Artisan and come back. It's like, oh no, I'm cruising. No, it's you have a destination you're going to and patronizing. It's repetitive motion on the same street, which is just causing congestion and safety hazards.
Correct. And there is one of the ordinances, and I think it might be the City of West Bend, where there is actually great discretion left to as in all things, but great discretion left to the officer to, if they're making a stop, they see a car that's gone X number of times, with maybe letter of the law, violating the ordinance, they do have the discretion to determine reasonable intent on the scene before issuing a
Would this,
citation.
would this also apply to golf carts then? I mean,
They're
the guy
they're,
could be
treat,
driving
they're
through
treated
and
like
blasting.
they're a vehicle on the street now. So
Yeah. I would
Those do
think
not
they
have
would.
engines to rev, though.
Makes them less
Very
annoying.
few have
automatically.
stereos.
yeah.
Okay, so staff is going to bring it back. Thank you. Okay, item B, review, discussion, and possible action to appoint Jacob Barnes to the zoning board of appeals.
Do we
We need a
need
motion.
Whoop, I'm sorry.
Do we need a motion?
discussion and possible recommendation? So
Is our,
Possible action, you can do a motion, just incorporating what you just discussed, that would be fine.
I'll make a motion to direct staff to compose an anti-cruising ordinance.
Second, Grabowski.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Review, discussion, and possible action to appoint Jacob Barnes to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Mr. Barnes, I talked to him, and he was hoping to get on one of the boards, either planning or something else, because he wants to get involved in the community. And I told him we had a ZBA opening, and he said he'd like to start there. So, with that in mind, I'd like to have the board approve him to the Zoning Board of Appeals, please.
I mean, I have no problem making the motion. I was just wondering, just out of curiosity, because, oh, never mind. I somehow missed the application on there. Motion to appoint Mr. Barnes to Zoning Board of Appeals.
Second, Rhodey.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Review, discussion, and possible action on temporary Class B wine, Class B beer retailer's license for the VFW car show. Matt, this is pretty much old hat every year, same thing, same thing.
Yeah, I would defer to our clerk who handles these, but I think this is
Yeah,
standard.
they do this every year. I haven't heard anything bad about it. I think it goes pretty well. Nothing crazy on that one. Same people, same guy comes in to do it every year.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the wine Class B beer retailer's license for the VFW car show.
Second, Krasovich.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Review, discussion, and possible action to schedule a special meeting of the village board. Matt.
Yes, Matt.
Thank you, President Knudsen. So this one has a lot of moving pieces to it. We have a business in the downtown area, Mixon, who is going to be taking over a new location, the one previously occupied by Twisted Vine. In their current location, Mixon does have a beer wine license that they can transfer to their new location. They are also in the process of obtaining the full liquor license that Twisted Vine has. So the difference is that the full liquor license can serve hard alcohol and cocktails, and the beer wine license cannot. There are statutory provisions that require waiting periods and publication for the full liquor license that add to the timeline and the sequence of events. So they had targeted April 11th as an opening date. And in order to comply with all the notice requirements and still get it before the board in time for April 11th, it would require a special meeting in between our April 2nd meeting and our April 15th meeting. Now, some of the moving pieces is that the previous owner from Twisted Vine, who currently has the full liquor license, has to surrender it. And that due date is April 1st, when their lease is up. So we don't know even at this point if that owner will surrender it, and we won't know until April 1st. It's possible that that owner might not voluntarily surrender it, in which case it wouldn't be available to award for the village board. Another piece that's in motion. Oh, I'm sorry.
Could you elaborate on that, just for an educational purpose?
Well, I'll ask anybody to fill in if I'm misstating this, but my understanding is that the law allows an awarded license, so even if you close at one location, you can open at another one, and you could transfer it. So it doesn't require you to surrender it just because you're closing. if your intent is to move.
You own it for the year. And so since we're April, he could kind of, same as Applebee's when they closed up, even though they weren't reopening in the village, they didn't surrender it until their expiration date.
Correct. So it was not available.
The benefit is to the village, if you're not planning on reopening, so that somebody else could take advantage of it. However, that is at their discretion.
Right, it's their license for the license term.
Yep.
Normally what happens in a business transfer situation, and I understand this is not a strict sale of a business, but what normally happens is the parties will come to some sort of resolution for the transfer of the liquor license on a certain date, subject to the surrender by the current license holder, and then they come to the board with both parties kind of having an agreement that upon the board approving this subject to surrender, the transfer will occur. The difference, what you have here is, we don't have any assurance that the surrender is actually going to occur, like Matt said. The applicant, and it's really not of our concern, but the applicant is hoping that the surrender occurs. But until the current license holder surrenders that license, there's nothing for the village board to award them. Now, I've said that the board could approve, if it's before them, could approve awarding the license to this new applicant subject to the surrender. But that's really just a prospective approval. It doesn't really give them any guarantees until the actual surrender occurs. We can't make the current license holder surrender their license, is the bottom line. So,
Go ahead, Bob.
If the past owner decides to hang on, is the new owner going to be able to use his old license, which is only beer and wine?
the transfer needs to be approved by the board. So potentially you could be seeing two applications, one for transfer of the current license and then one for approval of the Class B license subject to the surrender of the previous owner.
Thank you.
But we have beer and wine licenses available. It's just the full liquor is the...
Are we aware of a specific requirement related to that April 11th? It says the owner wishes to open on April 11th. Is there an event or?
No, it's,
Yeah, I think she just said it's their soft opening. She wants to be open for.
And they could, in theory, transfer their license over in that time period without a special meeting.
They would need board approval. Would they meet the timeline for April 2nd?
I think they could do their transfer license for the second. I don't believe they could do it for the full. Does it have to be the 15-day waiting period on the transfer too, Matt? 'Cause I know it is for the full. You do have to wait 15 days before I can even publish it.
I would have to go back and look.
Because it does need to be published for 3 days in a row
for the full one.
for the full.
Yeah, I'd have to look, but let's assume that the 15-day waiting period applies to the transfer as well.
So she gave it to me on the 14th. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 15 days is the 29th. Then I need to publish it for 3 days. They don't publish on Sunday or Monday. So I'd have to publish it the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
Okay, so
Hypothetically, it's the 4th. It could.
But we would
And they want to open the 11th. So it'd be the week of the 7th, I'm guessing.
and our meeting is on the 1st and the 15th?
The 2nd,
Second,
and the 15th.
15th.
2nd and the
Because
15th.
of the election.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 2nd and the 15th. And they want to open on the 11th.
The other piece I would add to this discussion is this is potentially precedent setting. That if the board does go break its routine for a business, it'd be a difficult discussion to not do that for other applicants.
I guess I would just echo that caution. I mean, it's up to the board. I mean, you make your own schedule, but it is precedent setting in that fact that in the past, we've been very careful not to prioritize one developer, one property owner over others, especially in scheduling special meetings. So if we do break from that precedent, there could be natural consequences that flow from that.
So if we, just to be clear, if with the posting, or I'm sorry, with the waiting period, the posting, and everything else, that means to get the new license, or if the one is surrendered on the 1st, to get that one, we could take action on the 15th?
Yeah.
And then you need the waiting period? Or is like the 15th to grant it, then the waiting period, and then?
It's already past their opening date.
Right.
They want to open on the 11th.
Right, I'm just saying, so they would get it then on the 16th to start pouring?
Correct, yeah, so if we met on the 15th,
Okay.
they could on the 16th open. Yes.
And, being sensitive that some board members obviously are in tight schedule windows for the next couple weeks.
I don't know who you're talking about.
And that there's 2 people that we're scheduling for who aren't even present.
Totally.
This doesn't affect me.
So, yeah, so
I
that's,
mean, that's the other piece of it too. This board's about to turn over with
Right.
a new election.
It would be their first
well,
meeting.
that's what I was getting at, is that we would, if so inclined, we're trying to word myself carefully here. Pewaukee has had the reputation for being anti-business for a very long time. And there's been rumblings in the past, and it has gotten significantly better over the past couple of years, but there's been rumblings in the past, especially in the downtown district, about we're not responsive to business owners' needs and such. Seeing that this would only require 4 people, I would be willing, personally, and even though I tried to put the moratorium on special meetings, I would be willing to participate in a special meeting to help this business, knowing that it does set the precedence, but when it comes to a specific issue to benefit a business in Pewaukee, I am willing to sit for one of those meetings. However, this is difficult because who knows I suppose if we had a majority here now, even if we switch out 2 members who may be dissenting in the future, it would still carry, but we would just need 3 other people then willing to sit for a meeting.
I'm automatically out because I won't be here.
All right. I was open to the idea, and if the 11th was as big a priority as I thought it was, where's the owner? He could have explained why the 11th is important, but apparently it wasn't a priority to appear in front of the village board.
Fair?
I'm struggling with we do have a lot of businesses, and there's a lot of timelines that we all are responsible for maintaining, as well as the business owners, and I am concerned about the precedent of, requesting the village board come together for a very small amount of days of a delay to move this forward. And then I completely agree with Trustee Rhodey that I would have expected them to be here requesting this, for our consideration.
Do we need a motion?
Jeff, do you have any opinion on this?
Well, I was going both ways. In fact, I talked to Matt about it. I mean, we've had this in the past on other boards when this board wasn't here. And the boards always said, no, we're not going to do that, because if we do it for one business, then we're doing it for everybody. And yes, we did get that reputation, but then again, it was done because we're trying not to play favorites. And that was one of my issues with this. Although I do know it's the downtown, I like what they do. I really was on board with helping them. As Jenna said, they could apply for their moving the beer and wine over for right now. And what I guess my concern is, what happens if the wine gentleman decides to hold on to his liquor license?
That's true.
Or he doesn't or he decides, well, I'm going to hold on to it for a while. and now they're gonna have to wait 15 days. Well, we're gonna check that out. But there's a good possibility, now you're starting the timeline from the 15th, so it's gonna be the second meeting of the month anyway. So if they would apply for the other one that they have currently, and we do need to get it for 15 days, the first meeting in April, we could probably approve that, correct? If there's no issues?
Did the math work out on that?
If they don't need the 15.
Yeah, just
If they don't need the 15 days?
Does the transfer need to be published for 3 days, Matt?
But why are they delaying with the Class B license? Why hasn't this already been, why has this transfer not been put in already? There's other, you don't have to go into the details, so there's something that they had to get done
Yeah,
prior, that's fine. I just
Well,
was
there-
just trying to assess if it was them.
There were
just
other land use
dragging
approvals,
their
but
feet.
those could have occurred at the same
Concurrent,
time.
okay.
Right, I think there was confusion because they were seeking some conditional use grant permission for the outdoor
The
piece.
outdoor seating.
That they were waiting for that to be approved before they submitted their application materials.
Yeah, and
When
they
they-
didn't need to with the transfer.
Right.
Right, so there was some confusion with the transfer at least.
Yeah, I'm sympathetic
Oh,
to the
there's-
confusion. It does seem to be a kind of singular situation. I'm also not convinced that the reputation that was previously held toward the village, that we're not supportive enough of businesses. I'm not of the opinion that it has anything to do with an unwillingness to set up special meetings when people encounter snags. Given that this proposed special meeting in all likelihood may not even solve their problem, it doesn't seem to me like a good use of the village board's time.
No, I would have to agree.
I tried encouraging the current license holder to work something out to be amicable on this, but I guess it isn't coming to fruition.
Oh, so it's unlikely?
I don't know. I thought it would have, whatever would have been worked out a month ago when it was announced that, or 2 months ago when it was announced, and seeing as how it hasn't still come to that, who knows if this will be surrendered on the 1st. I guess that's the tough thing. That's my holding up, is that we don't know what's the point of scheduling the meeting if we don't even know if there's going to be anything to discuss at it.
I would rather encourage them to proceed with transferring over their current license and make sure that that is ready to go as soon as
Right.
possible, because they have more control over that. And then they can always proceed later with adding on or changing to the other.
Yeah, I suppose if there was a license in hand, everything was ready to go, and they, had the grand opening planned and all that, and the only holdup was the meeting time for approval,
Sure.
that's
I can
different.
see that
The
as well.
fact is, like we said, we don't even know if that license is going to be there. So, I mean, we're not doing a hypothetical special meeting. And you all know how I feel about special meetings.
Right.
Do we need a motion to deny the request for a special meeting?
I think that it would just be a motion not to schedule a special meeting.
Okay, I'll make a motion not to schedule a special meeting.
Second.
With the understanding of staff to recommend them for a transfer at the least.
And they do have that application in, but it's
Okay.
just that if
Okay.
they do need to wait the 15 days like the regular one,
Yeah.
then yeah, they could possibly make the April 2nd meeting. If they don't have to do the 15 days, then they will need the second meeting, so they could hypothetically get their transfer.
Yeah, let's hope that works.
Great.
We'll clarify that
That would be
further.
We'll
great.
verify that, yeah, we'll look at that.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Citizen comments, this is an opportunity for citizens to share their opinions with board members on any topic they choose. However, due to Wisconsin open meeting laws, the board is not able to answer questions or respond to your comments. All comments should be directed to the board. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker, with time indicating by an audible alarm. When the alarm sounds, speakers are asked to conclude their comments. Speakers are asked to use the podium and state their name and address. Is there anybody here that would like to make a comment? Okay, then we're gonna go to item 10, closed session. The village board of the Village of Milwaukee will enter into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 1985 1G for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved, specifically regarding Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce, Inc. versus the Village of Pewaukee, case 22 CV 000515. In addition, the Village Board of the Village of Pewaukee will remain in closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Section 1985 1C to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the government body has jurisdiction or exercise responsibility, specifically regarding the position of utility supervisor. Do I have a motion to move into closed session?
Motion, Rhodey.
Second, Krasovich.
Roll call vote, please, Jenna.
Trustee Rhodey?
Yes.
Trustee Belt?
Yes.
Trustee Krasovich?
Yes.
Trustee Kreiser?
Yes.
Trustee Grabowski?
Yes.
President Knutson?
Yes, we are now hereby closed session. Everybody turn up. Anybody here?
No one stuck around?
Okay, we're in open session. Item A, review, discussion, and possible action regarding Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce versus Village of Pewaukee, case 22 CV 000515.
I'll make a motion to proceed as directed in closed session.
Second, crazy.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Review and discussion and possible action regarding the compensation for the utility supervisor. Do I have any action?
Motion to approve as discussed
In closed session?
in closed session.
Do we have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Thank you, Board. Item 12. Adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second the motion to adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are hereby adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, we'll meet here on April 2nd.